So I got my seed out for the beast, and we figured out what we're going to plant. We're going to plant Swiss chard, and this Swiss chard is a pelleted seed. We're also going to plant red giant mustard greens and Toscata kale. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that I got the correct plate in the seeder, or it's not going to work right. Now if you got the right plate in there, it works like a dream, but if you got the wrong plate in there, you're in a world of trouble. It's just not going to work right. So I take my Swiss chard, and most of the pelleted seed comes about this size right here. And this particular seed works great in number 3 plate. You can kind of place it around right there, and you can see it works great. It's got plenty of room to fall out. So I'm going to use number 3 plate for the pelleted Swiss chard. Now, on the mustard green red giant, I'm pretty sure number 1's going to work. And this is number 1 plate, but I'm going to double check it because I always double check. One time I bought some collard seed, and I know collard seed is supposed to work in plate 1. And I got home, opened the pack up in the garden, and I noticed my collard seed was coated. Therefore, there was a different size, and I had to take a drill bit and drill that hole out a little bit to make that coated seed work. So I'm going to check the mustard, put them in there, put them in the hole, and they drop through fine. So we're in good shape there. Now we're going to check the kale. Kale is normally about the same size as mustard, or just a tad bit bigger. But you can see there's a pretty small seed. And when I put them in there, I see that one every now and then gets caught in there. Now most of them will fit through that hole, but every now and then you're going to find a seed that's a little bit bigger, and what's going to happen is it's going to stop that hole up. So what I'm going to do for this particular plate, number 1 plate, to plant this kale, I got me a drill bit that's just a little bit bigger than the hole that's in it. And I'll get to the back side, and I'll just ream that hole out. Now if you can see there the difference, which isn't much, but there's a little difference now than this plate and this plate. That little bit of difference is going to make a lot of difference in that kale growing through there, because that seed is just a little bit bigger than the mustard greens. Alright, so now we got it all set up. We're going to put the plates in the seeders, and we're going to go back to the hoop house. Okay, on the pelleted Swiss chard, we're going to plant on the outside here. Pour my seed in there. Now you make sure you set your depth adjuster. For this pelleted seed, I'm going to set at a 1/2 inch. So it'll be a 1/2 inch deep. And here is the kale, and here is the red giant mustard greens. The red giant mustard greens are going right in there. And I want to make sure that that's planted on 1/4 inch, because that's a real small seed. Okay, kale going in the outside, and I'll make sure this planted on 1/4, and that's what it said on. So I'm 1/4 on the kale, 1/4 on the mustard greens, and I'm a 1/2 inch on the pelleted Swiss chard. Now this front wheel right here is basically a gauge wheel. You can set these 3 seeders up on a single or a double, and all this front wheel does is help create an area there to gauge the depth of your seeder there. So you could set all 3 of these at different depths, because it's all working off a level platform there. Now with the single wheel, you got a wheel in front of this fur right here, this middle fur, which is not a big deal. But if you didn't want that to happen, if you went with a double wheel, then your wheels would be off to the side here, and you would not have a wheel in front of where your furrier is going to push through right there. Planting on 7-inch spacings, so when I get to the end of the row and I move my string over, I move it over 3 foot. So 3 foot I straddle that string again, and I'll keep it directly on that tire on the single wheel hoe. Now what that does is that lets me move over, and I start back at 3 foot. That gives me a 22-inch walk space in between this last row and the first row there again. So I'm planting on 7 inches, excuse me, I'm on 8 inches there, and then I got a 22-inch walkway, and then we're planting on 8 inches again. If you're interested in growing your own food, we plan on making a lot of videos to give you tips and tricks on how to do that. So if you like our video, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and thanks for checking it out.